Welcome back for another episode. Today we're going to dive into a subject that straddles the line between fascination and horror. With the rise of true crime media, whether it's podcasts, documentaries, or entire YouTube channels, the true crime genre has captivated audiences worldwide. But what happens when that interest crosses the line from fascination to imitation? Join us as we explore cases where an obsession with true crime has driven people to try it for themselves. First, let's talk about why so many people are drawn to true crime. Psychologists suggest it's a mix of curiosity about the human psyche and a desire to understand what motivates someone to cross moral boundaries. People enjoy dissecting the why and how of each case, trying to unravel the minds of infamous figures like Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer. But it's not always harmless fun. Sometimes, for a small percentage of fans, the fascination turns into something much darker. One of the most chilling cases of true crime obsession leading to real-life violence is that of Jung Yoo-jung, a 23-year-old from Busan, South Korea. Like many of us, Jung loved true crime stories. She watched countless documentaries, read books about famous killers, and spent hours on YouTube learning about crime. But she took things to a frightening new level. Over time, her fixation on true crime grew from a passive interest to a dangerous obsession. In May 2023, Jung decided she had to experience what it felt like to take a life. She went so far as to meticulously plan her crime, scouring profiles on an online tutoring app to find someone who fit her criteria, someone she could lure to a place where she'd be in control. Her victim ended up being a 26-year-old English tutor she contacted under the guise of a parent looking for tutoring. The horror of this case is that Jung's entire plan was inspired by her infatuation with true crime stories. And after the crime, her browsing history showed disturbing searches such as how to dispose of a body and how to kill without getting caught. Her chilling descent is a stark reminder of how a fascination with true crime can have deadly consequences when it escalates beyond control. But Jung's case isn't the only example of an interest in crime leading to imitation. In 2009, a 15-year-old in Missouri named Alyssa Bustamante shocked the world. Alyssa had long shown a fascination with dark subject matter, posting online about depression, horror themes, and yes, even murder. Her obsession with the macabre led her to commit what she called a thrill killing, something she claimed to have done out of curiosity. Alyssa lured her 9-year-old neighbor, Elizabeth Alton, into the woods, where she ended the young girl's life. Alyssa later confessed in her diary, writing of the adrenaline rush and satisfaction she felt. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision, it was an act fueled by her obsession with crime and violence. In her own words, she simply wanted to see what it felt like. Alyssa's case serves as a disturbing example of how a casual interest in dark topics can turn into a need to act on them, especially in someone who is young and impressionable. In another disturbing case, Canadian Luca Magnotta used the internet and social media to feed his need for fame. Luca had idolized serial killers and was driven by an intense desire for notoriety. In 2012, he went so far as to film himself committing a brutal murder and then share the footage online, sparking outrage and fear around the world. Luca's path from fascination to action wasn't just driven by a love of true crime, it was also a desperate bid for attention. Magnotta's story highlights another facet of true crime obsession. Sometimes people not only admire the killers, but also crave the spotlight that surrounds these infamous figures. For some, the attention given to true crime figures becomes an aspiration, leading them to believe that by committing similar crimes, they too can achieve infamy. This twisted goal ultimately led Luca down a dark path with devastating consequences. So why do certain people fall victim to their own dark curiosity, while others can safely engage in true crime as mere bystanders? Studies suggest that personality traits, mental health conditions, and social factors play a role. For example, those with high levels of curiosity and thrill-seeking behavior may be more susceptible to taking their interest too far. Similarly, people who feel isolated or disconnected may find a sense of identity or purpose in true crime stories related to the notoriety of infamous figures. It's also worth noting that the way true crime content is produced can sometimes blur the lines between reporting and entertainment. By sensationalizing the crimes, some media inadvertently glorify the killers, which can have unintended effects on certain viewers. While this doesn't mean that true crime is inherently dangerous, it is important to consume this content responsibly and recognize that these are real events with real victims. For most, true crime remains a safe interest that doesn't cross the line into entertainment. But for those predisposed to darker impulses, these stories can act as a dangerous catalyst. Cases like Jung Yoo-jung, Alyssa Bustamante, and Luca Magnotta serve as cautionary tales about the fine line between fascination and action. If you or someone you know has an interest in true crime, remember to keep that interest grounded in empathy and respect for the victims. True crime can be compelling, but it should never cross the line into imitation or idolization. As the saying goes, sometimes curiosity really can kill. Thank you for joining us on this sobering journey. If you found this episode thought-provoking, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive. Stay safe out there, and remember, even the most twisted stories are real events with real consequences.